6 o'clock. Oh. It says 6 o'clock.
Yeah, that one says 6 o'clock.
I apologize. I was reading the wrong clock. I got to wait until 6 o'clock. We have exactly 9 minutes.
I was called on the carpet by a good preacher. 6 o'clock?
It's 6:09.
That's wrong?
It's 6:09.
That's wrong.
Okay, it is past 6 o'clock.
For accountability
This one
purposes.
said 5:56.
Well, for accountability purposes, it's past 6 o'clock. So at this time, I call the meeting to order. At this time, I would recognize all of our board members are present. We have Teacher Forum, Council Steering Committee, Teacher Council Steering Committee, Inez Colwell, David High, Teacher Forum Council Steering Committee Alternative Representative Donna Nelson, Carlene Pippins, DeKalb Auxiliary Employees Forum Representative Thurl Short, DeKalb County PTA Council Representative Marcia Coward. At this time, I call for a motion to adopt the agenda as posted. Moved by Dr. Morley, second by Mr. McMahon. Is there any discussion? Call for the vote. All in favor, let me know by show of hands. Passes unanimously. At this time, we will ask our superintendent to discuss the purpose of this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen of the school board, we are here tonight to seek and receive input from our various stakeholders as we receive public input on establishing or further establishing budget parameters for the FY 2014 budget. It's very important at this point that we hear from those parents and advocates and others who have ideas, suggestions, input as how we can, number one, balance the budget, but more importantly, prioritize the revenues that we have to enhance our educational delivery of educational services to our primary customers who are our students. So, Mr. Chairman, now I would like to present Mr. Michael J. Perrone, who is the Chief Financial Officer in the Division of Finance, and he will provide fiscal year 2014 revenue and expense projections. Mr. Perrone.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to the first public hearing. We will be holding 3 public hearings on the budget. This is the first, and I just have a brief presentation with regard to the revenue projections for fiscal year 14. This has been updated. Numbers were presented to the board a couple of weeks ago. They've changed slightly for the good, which is always good. State revenue we're projecting at $371.6 million. That's compared to $361.3 million for the current fiscal year. So we've had a little over a $10 million increase in that projection. The local revenue is projected at $360.8 million. The current is $370.7. We are looking at a 3% reduction in the local taxes. That is also being done by the county government. That is subject to change. We will get final numbers at the end of May that we will be able to adjust. So our total revenue is roughly flat, almost exactly the same as the current year at $732.4 million, just up slightly from $732 million for this current year. Undoubtedly, in building or going from year to year, there's always cost increases. What I have here is a list of increases to certain line items or unfunded mandates that we are subject to. And the reason I bring those to your attention in these fiscal times is that our revenue is flat and that we have these cost increases. So there's an increase to the Georgia Teacher Retirement System, the TRS system, for $3.8 million. Both the certified health and the non-certified health have premium increases that are being passed on to the district, and that's $2.2 million and $5.2 million respectively. There's an increase to the state salary steps for $1.3 million. This is to get us in line with the state mandate that we must pay a minimum salary to our teachers, and so that's $1.3 million. And then last, we have a new charter school opening, which is $2.2 million. So our total increases are $14.7 million. In good fiscal times, we usually don't even mention these because the revenue from the state and the local tax base usually are going up in good times and usually cover these types of costs in excess of that. But we bring those to your attention because when we go to start building this budget, we're going to have to deal with those on revenue that is flat or projected to be flat. Lastly, this is just the budget parameters page. The superintendent mentioned this at our last budget workshop with the board. A couple of weeks ago, we had them, or they gave direction to the district superintendent and his staff in terms of how to go ahead and build and implement the fiscal year 14 budget. So I included that for the public to see. And we look for your input also, as the superintendent said. So that concludes my report.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, before Mr. Barone takes his seat, I wanted to outline again the agenda and the expectation for tonight's budget hearing. This is a little bit different from previous budget hearings, I understand, Mr. Barone. What we're asking our stakeholders, public stakeholders, we obviously did not present to you our proposed FY14 budget. What we are asking you all to do is to help us see the broad priorities that should drive our thinking as we develop this document, which will be presented within the next 7 days. And so if our stakeholders will come to the microphone and speak in a broad way as to what should drive, what are the priorities, what should we be looking at, and then how should we appropriate, what should we cut, and how should we use the dollars that we do have to enhance student achievement and career readiness for our students in this district. And I think, Mr. Barone, if you want to reemphasize that, or Mr. Chairman, I think I wanted to emphasize that point.
The next meeting is set for May 8th, and prior to that, the board will receive a preliminary budget, and that will be what we will discuss at the next meeting, so we'll have more of the detail. But this is at the higher level. So we're looking for your input, and so that's...
Okay, this brings us to the citizen comment portion. Yes, I'm sorry. Put your speaker on. Mr. Mayfield has a comment. It's already on.
Mr. Chairman, I just wondered if it would be helpful for the public to see the board parameters that we've already established as they comment, so that at the very least they'll know what we're already thinking.
Are they available, Mr. Perone?
No, I meant on the screen.
On the screen?
I'm having Robert put that last page up right now.
Okay, thank you. Meantime, I'm going to ask Mr. McMahon if he would read the guidelines for the citizen comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And these are the guidelines for our public comments. In accordance with board policy, each speaker will be limited to 2 minutes. The public budget input hearing is for the purpose of the Board of Education to receive comments related to the development of the fiscal year 2014 budget. The hearing will last a maximum of an hour or 30 speakers. 1 hour is the maximum length, and is strictly limited to topics concerning the fiscal year 2014 budget. The board will not allow abusive language, threats, jeers, comments, applause, or shouts from the floor. In the event that happens, we will ask the disruptive person to leave the meeting room. We appreciate the comments made today. However, this is not the forum for the board to respond to those comments, given that the board will not have had a chance to consider and deliberate regarding the comments made here today. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. McMahon. Our first speaker, Ms. Lisa Morgan.
My name is Lisa Morgan, and I am speaking on behalf of the organization of DeKalb Educators. And I want to talk to you about our students. It's really tempting to think we can add 2 more children to the class. We can raise class size again. That's happened the past few years. Our maximum, and you see the quotes in the air, class sizes have increased by up to 6 students in a class. If you look at the board resolution for last year, it says that the maximum a kindergarten teacher will have by themselves is 24 students and 26 with a paraprofessional. I dream of that day happening again. All over this district, there are kindergarten teachers with 28 or 29 students by themselves. We have first, second, and third grade teachers with 30 or more students. Our class sizes have reached the point that it is detrimental to our students and their learning. And you may think, well, she just thinks that. No, I know that. I know that. Because my students did not learn as much this year as they have in the past. And I will say that to anybody that asked. And there are teachers throughout this district, just like me, who go home every night thinking, what can I do for my students? But we are stretched to the limit. For our children, reject any inkling of increasing class size. Thank you.
Robin McDonald, followed by David Shudden.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Johnson, Superintendent Thurman, and board members. My name is Robin McDonald, and I am speaking on behalf of our school counselors. I know that a budget is very difficult to adjust, especially when you're looking at the numbers that we're looking at. However, as a school counselor, we were, one, demoted, and then we took the pay cut that everyone else took. I just ask you humbly to take another look at school counselors and our pay raise or our pay performance reviews. At this point, I think that most counselors feel the same way. They cut our hours from 9 hours to 8 hours. And we are desperately needed over the summer. I'm not saying that that might be the answer, but I think we need to look at something different so that teachers still can go back to school, get their master's degree, and look at counseling as a promotion. Right now, we're all looked at as teachers, and so as I was told when I came in as a counselor, that counseling was a promotion for teachers. I think we still need to hold our counselors in a high esteem because we do have 300 to 500 students per counselor. I just ask you to humbly I ask that you would review that again and let us know what your stance is. Thank you very much, and you guys have a great evening.
Thank you for coming.
Mr. Thurman, Dr. Johnson, other members of the board, I'm David Shutton speaking on behalf of the organization of DeKalb Educators. I think at the last budget meeting that you had last week or the week before, several board members talked about trying to reduce the number of furlough days. That would be a great boost to employee morale if somehow you can find the money to do that, as we've had 4 or 5 pay cuts, 4 or 5 years in a row pay cuts, and I never thought I'd see the day where a teacher could leave DeKalb and go to Decatur and make more money, and that is happening in some cases. I always like to give you some ideas on how to save money, and I think that you should study how much we pay in DeKalb County per employee for every fair dismissal and due process hearing from start to finish. Compare that to how much Atlanta spends, how much Gwinnett spends, how much Fulton spends. And after sitting in some of the hearings and talking to our attorneys, I can almost guarantee we spend a lot more money because the cases in DeKalb stretch out much longer than they do in some neighboring school systems. I also want to echo that we need to lower class size. One way to do that, that gives the schools latitude, would be to get rid of Success for All and let the schools use that Title I money to be able to lower class size. The schools that don't have Success for All often use that Title I money to hire another teacher so that they can provide lower class size for people. And when in lean budget times, you have to look at ways to improve morale that is not going to cost you money. And you can significantly increase morale in many elementary schools by eliminating the Success for All program, because it's the #1 morale buster in elementary schools in this school system. The other thing that you could do is to revisit the rules about teachers being allowed to send their children to the schools in the clusters where they work. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Joel Edwards, followed by Mr. Willie Pringle.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Mr. Thurman, Chairman, Dr. Melvin Johnson, board members. Lend me your ear for a minute. The DeKalb County School System Administration has an obesity problem. Middle management needs to be cut probably a third. We have a problem with these bus operators not being paid their fair share. When it comes to living wage, they are nowhere at the level where they should be recognized as living wage employees. We have a shortage of bus operators. As a matter of fact, we have 20 bus operators that have been put on administrative duties where they should be driving the buses, and they're not driving the buses because of frivolous charges against them. And we know, everybody here know, that there's a shortage of bus operators that needs to be attended to. Someone in the transportation department or someone on the board need to get with the transportation department to find out what in the world is going on, that we have such a shortage of bus operators, where the bus operators have to travel from point A to point B, and a lot of times, a lot of them are getting tickets and being disciplined by management. Now, if that's the case, you have some management staff that are not accountable to doing their job. Something needs to happen. And I would hope that you all would visit the transportation department if you have to cut staff by 50%. And I think that 50% is reasonable. I think 50% staff cut in transportation can be a big amount that goes toward the budget. Also, we have a problem with the school system, the schools that are closed that need to be maintained. That's a reflection of our neighborhoods. Now, I know that you board members probably have never got together and taken a tour of these facilities that's been closed. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Pringle.
First, I'd like to say good evening to the chairman, Mr. Thurman, to the board. And first, I'd like to give honor to God for allowing me to be here to be a voice for the voiceless, and that's our children. And I'm standing here on behalf of our community and our children. When I'm continuing to see, we're coming back now looking at revenue funds, and that's something I have to say. As far as for this new board, I know you all have taken on a great task here. And I have to say, I wish you all well, and I keep y'all in my prayers. Why? Because the challenge that y'all have before y'all is really great. But I want y'all to understand what y'all purpose are for. It's about the children. Nothing else but the children. Also, I want to say, as far as we're looking at the budget here, truly, in the department, there's a lot of waste. The construction that I look and see going on now in our school system really need to be looked at very, very closely, because there's a lot of waste going on. And I have to say, in the school system overall, administration position, we need to take a serious look at that, because some of the cuts that have supposed to be taking place, I want you to know, it did not happen at all, period. So here, as you all come on board, please do your homework, and that is get to the bottom, because we all know it's about the money. And our children do not need to have their classroom impact. And where teachers are being babysitters, we're not educating our children like they should for the future. So as you all have that burden on y'all, remember, our children are our future here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pringle. That concludes our public comment portion. Let's see, did I miss anyone? Did anyone else? I'm going to. Do you have any? If we have others who would like to make comments, since we have a limit, if we have others who would like to make comments at this time, we would allow you to do that, if you will. Please give us your name, if you will.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Carlisle. I'm a parent and also a DeKalb County employee. But I've been a parent first before I became an employee. My goal here is to help figure out how we can cut the budget and put more money into the classroom. We are the only county that provides magnet transportation that we know of. That's about $3 million. Yes, people want to go to those schools, but that's their option. There are people who are willing to find ways to get their children there. But as a county, we need to be looking at putting more of that in-house. And in response to the other gentleman, I have firsthand knowledge about inefficiencies in the transportation department that we have encountered. I don't understand the processes and how, when you request a bus for 35 people, you get a small bus and then the bus has to make 2 trips. Fortunately for us, it was within the radius of the school. Who's not looking at the numbers? They don't jive. You can't fit this many kids on a bus. We need to put the money in the classroom. We need to look at realigning some of our boundary lines for our schools, because if you're going to put trailers on, that's a more added expense when you have some schools that are situated who are under-enrolled. It's time to really look at those lines. The northern side of the county has not been redistricted in a good 30 years, a major redistricting. The population has increased, the development from where it was 30 years ago. Yes, you're going to make some parents unhappy, but the reality is some of us have been advocating this for years, and then we have not seen it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please give us your name, if you will.
Timothy Davis, Dr. Johnson, and Mr. Thurman, and the board members. Thank you all for allowing me to speak. I have 3 things that I jotted down that I would like for you to consider as you're looking at the proposed budget for next year. Number 1, I would like for you to look at the number of furlough days that we have experienced and that we'll probably experience again for next year. But if you can keep it to a minimum so it doesn't impact the instruction that takes place for the students, as well as the teacher fair living wage, the teachers and the ESPs, because that's very, very important. Number 2, that I want you to look at, possibly for the middle school level, looking at having the administration composite. I think we need some help at the middle school level as well as the high school level, because our kids are emerging adolescents and young adults, and it takes a lot of time to get them to settle and to be focused and to prepare for college. In order to do that, we need a grade level administrators, one at each level, and also one over instruction, because the principal and the assistant principal drives the instructions, and the other individuals carry out the plan, as well as the teachers and the ESPs. So if we could look at having an assistant principal for instruction, a grade level administrator for each of the grades, 6 through 8 and 9 through 12, will be very feasible, and I think it will help with the management of the school. And lastly, again, talking about the fair living wage, I know we're way below. It has been a number of years, I think it's 5 going on 6 years, that we have not received a raise. Being steadfast, being dedicated, we're in it for the children, but surprise every 2 weeks will be greatly appreciated if y'all can make it happen. Thank you, and I spoke on behalf of, as myself an individual, and also of all the teachers and ESPs in DeKalb County. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Good evening, board. Good evening. Mr. Thurman. My name is Gregory Davis, and that's not my brother. All right. I stand before you as an employee of DeKalb County Schools, and I'm just getting here. I'm not nervous, but I am sweating because I had to run from a shower. But anyway, I appreciate your diligence, because last time we met, you had a $16.1 million budget realities. I came in tonight, and I see there's 14.7. Every time I show this to someone, they say, good, because that number is not 89-point-something million dollars. So that's encouraging. So we're looking at, as far as us talking amongst, as your employees, we're looking at, we want to do our part. If it means saving someone's job, please furlough us. We'll take another day. If it means that everybody can take care of their family, can come to work and have a job, do that. I like the questions that you all asked at the last one, because there does come a point when you cut so much that now you're not effective. I'm a mechanic. I'm a bus mechanic. I went through the last year's reduction. I made it, thank God. But we've been worked like mules and then put away wet. What we have to do is we have to look at how are we going to sustain 900 buses with 15 mechanics. That's a hard duty. Then you look at, you have 100 buses that's down for repairs, and then you have 100 bus drivers that's out because they're sick or for whatever reason, and now you got to double up on runs, you got to overload the buses. That's putting stress and wear on everybody. That's everybody from the parents who's trying to get their kids to the bus stop on time, to the bus driver who's trying to get them kids to school safely. So I applaud you. I ask that you keep looking diligently at it. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
Hi. My name is Sandra Burdett, and I know you all were selected by the governor. I voted for who I wanted, and the person who is over my district, I still don't know who that person is because they haven't had a meeting. However, my biggest concern is we're not getting the best teachers because we're not offering decent pay. I notice you all giving an increase, but, we need the best. And, I was telling somebody years ago, when the teachers came to DeKalb County, they had 8 years to get their master's. Now, a master's doesn't mean a thing. Some of them have doctorates, but they're not being paid what they're worth. If they're not being paid what they're worth, our kids are not getting the best education that they can get. And that's really my biggest concern. The teachers plus the other staff people need increases, but, no pay, an unhappy teacher. Unhappy teacher is not going to teach good to the students. And that's it. I keep my other comments for another time.
Thank you, Ms. Burdett. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is, to the board. My name is Deborah McMillan, and I am an employee of here, DeKalb County School System. I am a bus operator. I support everyone in the district, but right now I'm here in support of my fellow co-workers, bus operators. The buses are overcrowded because we're lacking low on the buses, the bus drivers' buses. The morale is very low. The drivers are stressed because they're having carrying these extra kids. Discipline is horrible, I must say, it is. Just get them home. That's what we're told. We'll deal with it tomorrow. Tomorrow really never comes. Another thing is with the pay. We are professionals. I hold a CDL license, which make me a professional. And it is time that we have a new board on board that they help us help you. That we are professionals, that we should be treated like professionals, and we should be paid as professionals. I do thank you for your time, and have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent. My name is Valerie Spradling. I come before you today as a concerned parent, and one of the areas that I would like to see more focus put in, especially now we're going into the Common Core with the new assessment, the Park assessment coming in this year, more training for the teachers, getting them ready as far as how we're now going to teach and train our students to prepare them for the new testing outside of what they're used to, and getting them ready for the critical thinking that they will need. What can we cut? It doesn't seem like we can't afford to cut anything. As a state employee from the Board of Regents at a research institution, you know, our state money has decreased, and I know what I've seen at our institution is a focus on grant money. And I'm not sure exactly how the county or the district deals in that area, but what can we do? Because right now we need to figure out how to increase revenue, how to bring more money in. And so what can we do as it relates to grant money in the areas of technology, in the areas of construction? Is there more things out there that we can apply for to bring that money in to help offset money in those areas, so we can put that towards increase of salary, towards instruction, and be able to help free up those areas? Outside of that, it seems kind of hard to say pull money from this area to help in this area, because right now it seems like we're stretched pretty thin across the board. So thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Good afternoon.
Good.
Mr. Thurman, board members. My name is Shirley Weldon, and I work at Towers High School. And I came to just say this. I work with special ed, and I'm a parapro. And I want y'all to really look deep down, because they cut parapros a couple years ago, and it hurt. And we need the parapros, especially to stay with special education. We need them really all over the county, but they need to stay with special education. So I wanted y'all to look deep into that, because those children need us. The teachers can't do all of the work themselves. They need a break, and we're their break. So when you're looking at the budget, make sure you look at special education, and any way you can help with that. They cut out most of the programs. We used to go on field trips. They've cut that out. We're down to maybe one field trip a month. So if you look at special education, please, for me, I've been at Towers ever since 1992. I'm proud of Towers. I'm proud to say I work at Towers. It needs a little help, but I know y'all are looking at that too. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Mr. Thurman.
Thank you very much for coming.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Angela Tucker Holmes, and I'm a head custodian at Eagle Woods Academy. My concern is every time the budget come up, you're always talking about outsourcing custodians and parapros. Well, I say all support professional jobs. The plant service can't take any more cuts. We're down to one glazier, we're down to one locksmith as well. I think cuts need to be somewhere else besides inside the school. Every time a budget come up, custodian staff have to fight for their jobs, to save their jobs, and we're there. We are the first person in that building. We're the last person out that building. So we see and hear everything that goes on inside that building. If you want to know something, ask a custodian. They can tell you who drive what. They can tell you who was on campus. They can tell you exactly what a person was wearing. When you're looking at the budget, please take a further look at not outsourcing custodians. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming.
Good evening, Dr. Johnson.
Good evening.
And Mr. Thurman. You knew I was going to get up here. Sorry. I think one thing that I have heard recently that would go a long way is Mr. Thurman's idea of finding ways to improve parental involvement, low-cost, high-impact strategies. Parental involvement is the biggest factor in academic success. We're not talking about budget issues directly, but indirectly, we can improve student success without impacting the budget. One small thing would be have the parents sign the homework. Nothing in the budget, but the parents have to look at it and they sign off on it. Mr. Prone, I want to say I think you're a little bit misleading that the new charter school is going to cost $2.2 million. I heard you explain that as inefficiencies in the schools where the students leave. That's assuming those schools are running at maximum efficiency to begin with, and I don't think every classroom doesn't have the same number of students. So that 2.2 for the new charter school, I disregard that myself. Mr. Thurman, I don't know if you read the email I sent you on Friday the 19th. It was the questions for the Tucker Parent Council meeting. I asked if you would lead by example and take a cut to your salary. Okay, and again, you don't have to answer that at this time. At the same time, I'm going to repeat myself. I've said this before. There are employees who are being paid more than the maximum. If you go to opengeorgia.gov, you can find a second grade teacher being paid $114,000. Those kinds of things, behind the doors, behind closed doors, agreements among friends, they need to stop. Okay, that's one way. If you look at that across the board, you will find a lot of money for the budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. McMahon, you want to make a comment? Mr. McMahon.
I was just going to ask the last speaker to give their name for the new board members. Kirk.
Mr. Lundy. Give your name, Mr. Lundy.
I'm sorry, he was asking me anyway, my name's Kirk Lundy. You all have emails from me in your inboxes. Got another one this afternoon. Thank you.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank each of you for coming out tonight. Certainly the input that you've given us will certainly help us in making our decision. At this point, I would like to also remind you that please place May 8th at 6 p.m. on your calendar for the next budget hearing. We need your support. At this time, Mr. Thurman, you want to make a comment, I believe.
Mr. Chairman, on May 8th, we will present our first proposed budget for members of the audience and the board, of course. We will provide the first detailed proposal for FY14, and then we look forward to continuing this conversation. And I want to thank the individuals who came and spoke. The information you provided was very helpful, and it will provide us with road marks and really some markers in terms of how to proceed.
Can you give us an estimate of when I know you'll present it to the board on the 8th. When will it be disclosed for public review? Will it be prior to the 8th? I don't know that answer.
Well, Mr. Barone, can you help us with that?
Normally, we have, when we would try to submit that to the board prior to, hopefully a few days, so you'll have something to look at. And then we usually have copies of that, hard copies at the meeting, and then as soon as the meeting's over, first thing next day, it's up on the web. That's normally what we do. If you want to do something different, we could try to work that.
So I got a question. So does that mean that the public won't get to see the budget until the meeting? That's a little, I think we might want to.
That is the way we've done it in the past, though. If
We can always change it if the board would suggest we could get it out prior to the meeting on the 8th.
I would like to get it out prior to the meeting.
Yeah, we'll put it on the web.
we could do that.
Chairman?
Yes, Mr. McMahon.
If it's fair to ask Mr. Perone, from a timeline standpoint, you said a few days to the board, or is that Monday the 6th or maybe Friday the 3rd?
Shooting for Friday the 3rd.
Can we shoot for that to be up on the web for Friday the 3rd so the public could have the weekend, the same 5 days? Is that?
Sure. We could shoot for that, yeah.
I greatly appreciate it. And if you need more time, but I'd rather meet our expectations of timelines, if that's okay.
Actually, I would prefer that it be on that Monday, because we're going to be working over the weekend. I'm sure that's news to my senior staff, but we'll be working on the budget over the weekend.
But I think a couple of days would be fair for the public to,
maybe
in advance.
Monday would be what? The
6th.
The 6th, yeah.
So presented at the budget, the regular board meeting, we could not go over it, just make it available?
Make it available.
Distribute it.
Yeah.
Distribute it to the board members and to the public.
Yeah, and put it on the web. It'll be on the web, so it could be easily accessible.
Thank you, Chairman and Superintendent. Thank you all.
Again, I want to thank you for your comments tonight and your input. I also would like for you to read the announcements on the agenda. And at this time, I call for a motion to adjourn the April 29th, 2013 call meeting. Moved by Mr. Mayfield, second by Dr. Carter. Is there any discussion? No discussion? I call for the vote. All in favor, show by raising your hand. Unanimously, we adjourn.